commenters coming on as well, because that.
Yeah, no, carry on.
No,
carry on. Yeah, it would be. It would be lovely to see some of the regular commentators and commenters and everything else coming on today. Hello, everybody. It's Wow Ergonomics. Professional start there from Stephen, as usual.
Yeah. I thought we were in the virtual green room, as it were, and we were just sort of chewing the fat, and then suddenly on my screen it said live, and it's like, oh no.
There you go. Could only get worse if we started doing stuff like that. But we won't, because that's dreadful. That takes us back to the middle of the pandemic, when everyone was jumping online and doing these things, and every single show you had to wait for 30 seconds. Why? They're there anyway. Just start. What's the point of all of that? Anyway, we're going to get rid of all of this paraphernalia around. The show is called Wow Ergonomics. It's sponsored by Baccarat Kaiser, and you know all of that now. Thanks for joining again, as usual. There's a website as well, wowergonomics.com, if you want to catch up on all of this meandering about ergonomics, etc. But we have a special guest, and he's brought his van with him today, and it's Paul Backweld. That's his name, Paul Backweld, which is a great name. If you're going to start an ergonomics company, why not have a name like Backweld? Paul Skinner, it's lovely to see you, sir.
Very much. Nice to see you.
Yeah. But look, let's start with the van, because I was saying just before we came on, I absolutely love the van. Look at that cleverness at the front, right? It looks quality. It looks, if you get the right angle and everything else, like better than AI can produce. You would really think he's actually driving that van. People have crashed going alongside him down the road. Oh my goodness, the side of the van's come away. He's driving the van on an operator chair.
Yeah, I've had to get used to people staring at me at traffic lights. Being a middle-aged man, obviously I've got to be angry when I'm driving. It's part of the job, isn't it? So I can see them laughing at me and pointing, and I turn around and go, oh yeah.
Andrew says team hoodies. Yeah, I was actually just thinking this morning, mine's actually got Move on. I don't know what Stephen's got on, probably super dry. Okay. Means it doesn't
remember there used to be our unofficial sponsor, Graham, where we used to always turn up in super dry kit, and they never actually picked up on that opportunity, did they?
Absolutely. And well, we've all got grey hoodies. That's great. That's a great thing. Maybe I was thinking at some point, Stephen, next year we should actually get ourselves Wow Ergonomics hoodies.
Yes. Yeah,
it's got to be done. I think. Do we get biscuits? Yeah, you can have biscuits. I was just talking about that. Biscuits. That's a good one, Paul. Do you keep biscuits in the van?
No, because I eat them.
Oh, of course. Or the dog does, right?
Yeah, but I eat them all. I'm not very good at moderation with chocolate and biscuits. I suppose I could buy something horrible like a rich tea or a plain or a faulty digestive with chocolate on it. I could probably make those last a bit longer. But I did have. Where's he gone? It was here just now. I moved it out of the way. So I did have some Backwell biscuits once.
Oh,
hello.
Yeah, Backwell biscuits.
Yeah, I ate all of those as well.
Do you have a sign, Paul? Do you have a sign on the back of the van that says no biscuits are left in this van overnight? Like people do with like tradesmen with their tools.
That's a great idea, isn't it?
I think of that.
What a great idea. That would make people crash into the back of it as well. He's now not got a problem just from the side. He's got a problem from the back. He's writing that down the side. Yeah. No, actually, I was saying to Paul, and perhaps actually, first of all, we should get Paul to really introduce himself properly. Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, where are you from? What is it you do, sir?
I'm from West Sussex, but I'm fortunate enough these days to be living and working in Exeter.
Just down the road.
Just down the road, yeah. And one day I needed a job to do, so I googled businesses for sale in Exeter. And I met an old man who was selling a shop that had lots of dusty old chairs in it. I thought I can do that. So I bought a shop. I realised that sitting in a shop all day was actually pretty dull, so we let the shop go and replaced it with a van, which is a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a very sensible move.
Yeah, the shop was good for advertising, but it's a pretty depressing place to sit all week.
Yeah, you had a choice of chairs though. I mean, that at least.
I still got a choice of chairs. I just don't have to sit there staring at them while I'm waiting for someone to come and buy one.
No, and actually, what I love about some of your little videos that you put up on social media is when you take a chair into the middle of a field or something somewhere, or a road just by a field, and you try it out. That's great.
Yeah. Is the old man on the Dorset hillside the other day? Can't remember what it's called now. The big chalk man.
Oh yeah, what Sir Nabbis?
Sir Nabbis, yeah, Sir Nabbis Giant. Yeah, we stopped it in the other day and raised myself up on a chair. Just
have a look.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd demonstrate a raising chair to someone who doesn't need any help with raising, but
well, he certainly doesn't, does he? Oh dear. You should. Do you like beer?
Beer, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried the Sir Nabbis beers?
No.
Oh, yeah. You should try those. It's great.
Well,
It's great
great
brewery in Sir Nabbis.
As you get towards the end of the night, you're not really sure what you're drinking anymore. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you can add that to the sign at the back of the van. No tea, biscuits, or beer left in the back of this van overnight. Now, I was saying to Paul, he does these great little videos sometimes on social media, but I said he doesn't do them quite often enough, and it would be really good if he did on a regular basis. Where's Paul in his van, and actually made it into a little bit of gamification. And I said he could probably find some kind of ergonomic accessory company to sponsor that by providing something to give away. But yeah, it could be a good thing.
Are you sort of looking at me there, Graham, but not looking at me?
No, I'm just saying that that could be quite a good idea.
Look after Paul. That's not a problem.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. That's a great idea. If people though give some feedback on that. If you would love to see Paul on a regular basis do a little thing where you have to guess where he is out and about in his van, and as a result of that, you could win yourself a little ergonomic-y thing. That would be great. All right, if you love that as an idea, let us know. Vote on that, and then maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. Who knows? Are there bare feet on the van? That's what JD wants to know.
No, there's no bears in the van. Only me.
No, what she means is, are you barefooted in that photo? Are you
actually? What this year? You're lucky I'm wearing anything at all. But no, they're just my old Chelsea boots, which have now been replaced by a new pair of boots. But, yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go. He can remember that pair of Chelsea boots fondly by having the van. So what's ergonomics like in the southwest? Is there? We're a different part of the country from elsewhere. Some people would say we're a little bit slow on the uptake, but actually, do you find that that's the case? Are people taking note out there?
They like to listen. They're
That's
really
good.
listening. They understand. They get it.
Yeah.
All the way up to the point where they have to buy something.
Oh, right. That's because you need to have cows in the back of the van to trade with.
Cows. I did once of a Capisco chair in a field of cows. The cows are really interested in it.
There you are. Do it with a Capisco, and I will help.
You missed it.
I think
in somewhere.
Is Andrew actually saying there that he might do a giveaway?
It sounded like it.
Yeah, I would hold him to that, Paul.
A comment on LinkedIn is a legally binding contract, is it not? So
absolutely. Yeah, that I think you'd have to have a special occasion for that one. Maybe do it. I'll tell you what. Maybe do it for something like Children in Need or something.
Yeah.
Paul, maybe we could do a Children in Need special. Maybe we could find someone to actually dress up as Pudsey, and you and Pudsey could be somewhere in the van, and actually then, yes, said Andrew. Yes, he would do that.
There you go.
I love this. We're making it all happen today.
But it was interesting what Paul was saying there. That it sounds like what we heard a long time through lockdown, but we thought we were coming out of it. Is that sort of lots of listening, but when it comes to putting your hands in your pockets, it seems as if people then go a little tone deaf, as it were, don't they? So is that's something that you're finding particularly? Do you think it's a geographical thing, Paul? Do you think it's very much?
I don't know. I've only ever done this in this area, but if I can actually get people to sit in the stuff, if we're talking chairs at least, then they get it.
Mm.
You know, if you're just down the pub with your mates, I sell chairs that are over £1,000. They're like, they have a laugh and chuck a beer over you, and like, that's a silly thing to do. But if somebody wants a chair and they want, if somebody just decides they want a cheap chair, they'll go onto Google, they'll find IKEA, and they'll go out and sell and buy a cheap crappy chair.
Yeah,
and I don't get involved. If somebody wants a really good chair, then they will usually find me, hopefully find me if they're in this area. And then when you sit them in, if you sit them in a Logic and you don't tell them how much it is, then they totally get it. They're blown away. I didn't believe a chair could be so good. And then you tell them how much it is, and they have a little gulp and a sniff and a cry. But it's up to them to justify justify the expense. But they'll do it. People will spend £1,000 on a bed they spend 7 hours a night in, and then they want to spend 200 quid on a chair they're spending 9 hours a day in.
Do you not throw them the old thing about the car seat though? I mean, that's what I used to do on a regular basis, because they turn up in their Merc or whatever, and I go, do you know what? The seat in that Merc is £3,500.
Yeah.
And you sit in it for how long a day? 20 minutes. You literally go 5 minutes down the road, 5 minutes back, you do the school run in it and whatever. That's it. That's all you spend in it a day. 5 minutes.
People always say, oh, it's so much, I couldn't possibly afford it. Well, if they drop their iPhones down the toilet, there's a new £1,000 phone winging its way from Amazon first thing in the morning.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
£500 phones that work just as well.
Maybe we need to start using that toilet analogy, Graham, and not the Mercedes car anymore. The old iPhone down the toilet.
I think the iPhone thing's a really good one, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, people look. It's an iPhone's a great phone. Let's not let's not beat around the bush. It's a great phone, but other smartphones are available for a fraction of the price. So there you go. I think Jody, hits the nail on the head here as well. You can give all your time away for free. I have no doubt there will be far more inclusion in far more companies. They don't understand the return on investment. It's partly the case here, isn't it? People don't understand the return on investment in this scenario.
Yeah, it's hard to measure. We're very into measuring things, aren't we? Everything's got a figure behind it. And I can't promise somebody that Dave from marketing is not going to have to go over early on a Thursday to see an osteopath if he buys that chair. Good chance he won't. And I've looked for a figure. Obviously in Scandinavia, Northern Europe, the sort of stuff we're trying to sell is a lot more common. It just doesn't make sense to expect someone to sit in the same chair for 40 hours a day and not give them one that fits. In places where there's so much more common sense, there's 30 grand, there's an Audi, there's an iPad, chair worth 60 quid. It just doesn't make any sense. I can't, and I'm sure there's a correlation between the amount of time people in Scandinavia spend in an osteopath and the amount of time people in Devon spend in osteopaths. I can't find that figure.
Now, interestingly, because Stephen and I were talking yesterday about that, you were talking about the time people spend in the chair there, but we were talking about other markets as well. And one of the markets that we were talking about was the gaming market, because interestingly, how many people actually game? And a lot of younger people, especially in business or whatever, do game. It's not, in fact, but I'll take that back. It's not even just young people. A lot of you out there game. We know you've got your Xboxes and your PS5s and whatever else. So the thing is that I saw some shocking figures from people in terms of time that they spent in the same chair during the pandemic, talking to people that worked as a developer during the day or whatever, and then gamed the rest of the time. Some people were telling me that they were literally in the same chair for 18 to 20 hours of the day. Surely, you see, that's got to be worth the return on the investment, hasn't it, to get that right?
Yeah, you'd have thought so. And gaming chairs are just, there are some good gaming chairs out there, but they're mostly just fairly rubbishy chairs in shiny plastics. In
nice colours.
Nice colours, yeah.
Yeah.
Say to me, why don't you do gaming chairs? He goes, all my chairs for gaming.
What makes it a gaming chair? The fact that it looks like something out of a Formula One car. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Oh, he's gone off to get a gaming chair. Look.
Has he?
Oh, somebody come to say hello.
Oh,
here we go.
That's the way.
Here we go. Now we're talking.
Now you can go again.
Yeah.
So Paul, are you the people are you seeing people regularly who are gamers? Are they mainly sort of corporate businesses or clients that you see, or are you getting those calls from people who are gamers? Are you getting drawn into that sort of area of opportunity?
I've never had anybody phone me up saying I spend 10 hours a day on an Xbox, I need a chair.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. And I guess it depends on the games they play as well. If people are playing driving games, they want specialist chairs with steering wheels and brake pedals built in. Or if they're playing, I don't know. Can you get AK-47s built into chairs these days? I don't know.
Someone will do it. Go on Amazon. There's bound to be one there.
Yeah, well, it depends. If you've just bought a social media platform and you're getting rid of people, then you probably have got to get a chair like that. So.
But like we were saying though, Graham, it has got to be a massive area of opportunity, hasn't it? You know, for the likes of Paul, for the seating manufacturers out there. You know, I'm be interested. I know Andrew Shepherd's commented a couple of times as to what his sort of take on this is, but there are people. If you know, look at kids. Kids go to school all day. They come home and they spend 5, 6, 7 hours sat there. Are they causing problems themselves? Yeah, absolutely. They're causing problems now that are then going to just manifest as they go into their teens, into their 20s, into the working environment. So, you know, what's out there? What are people doing? As you say, are they just? I notice a lot of these gaming chairs. They just seem to make them red and black as opposed to black. It's almost as if they've just thrown a bit of colour on a pretty cheap chair to make it look a little bit more sort of gamey, and that's what people are buying. But you know, are people causing themselves issues now? And it almost needs a bit of a strategy piece, doesn't it, really, as to getting people aware who are gamers, the problems they're going to experience, and to do something about it now.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of gaming chairs seem to, whereas I encourage people to move about more, you know, the more movement you've got, I'm not sitting in a chair now. Why would I? It's bad for you. I'm standing up. And gaming chairs, just any movement you've got, they just take it away. They just restrict you. They've often got poor lumbar support. They've got big bolsters up the side, so you can't move about so much. Yeah, all good.
How much of this do you think is an education piece? Because I'm absolutely convinced it is, and in the same way that areas such as inclusion and diversity, etc., you know, that has to start early. It has to start in schools. It has to start with teaching, you know, youngsters before they even get out of school that these things are important. In terms of things like ergonomics, if you look at the countries where a lot of these chairs come from, and you say that those countries, people will readily buy these pieces of kit because they understand the value. Those countries educate younger anyway in terms of things like ergonomics and movement, etc. We don't have anything like that in school. You know, in fact, our schools, it's all about sit cross-legged on the floor, isn't it? Or you know, how many schools even have like buy different size chairs as kids get older? They don't do it. They literally just buy one size in the middle, and there will be some people sitting there with their feet hanging all day long, and other people cramped under the desk. We've all been there, but you know, it needs to start earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if we give them the right thing. I always thought the best thing for a school to be a kneeling stool, little kneeling chairs. Like they'd be fantastic for school kids. The move, the position, the posture, and the movement you get on them, I think would be great. And if they have one of those, then they'd understand that going on. I think if you tried to sit someone down and teach them about posture and chairs, they'd probably fall asleep. But if you gave them the right stuff in the first place.
Well, does it come back, Paul, to what you said before? Does it ultimately come down to pounds and pennies? Is that where it comes? Because as you say, you know, does everything come back to that? That actually the volume that schools would need to buy, there isn't anything on the market that is of a reason, what would be deemed a reasonable price to them, and therefore they just don't go down that route.
Yeah, I mean, it would be difficult, wouldn't it? If I went into a school of 1,000 pupils now and said you need to buy 1,000 of these chairs at 300 quid, it'd be a fairly short conversation. It'd be like everything, it would be a gradual change. Start having those conversations and making people, you know, so when they next do have to buy 20 new chairs, maybe they'll consider spending a bit more on them, or not necessarily spending more on them, just thinking about the product they're buying beyond the cover.
But could there be at some point within the school curriculum, could there be something around health and well-being, full stop? And that could include
Nutrition.
a piece on ergonomics in the same way that it should include a piece on mental health, and it should go, because it seems to me that like all things, people are coming out of school and then having to pick up on all of these things. I mean, put it this way: if you were given the opportunity by a local school to come in and talk to their pupils about why it's important to look after yourself from an ergonomic point of view, would you take that opportunity up?
Yeah, of course I would.
Yeah. Come on then, schools.
Yeah.
Get Paul in his van. Look, it's exciting for a start. He might even bring the dog.
But actually, more and more schools are issuing things like, and I think it's my youngest son's school, they're starting to be issued with either, I think they're getting iPads fairly soon. So again, they're just going to be, and I'm sort of slightly moving it away from just the chairs, but onto other things as well. But if you're going to issue with iPads, you're going to create that whole sort of tech neck situation, aren't you? With everyone sort of looking down. So it's great that sort of technology is being issued, but if it's being issued in isolation, you're just sort of shifting the problem from one area to another, aren't you? You've got to somehow get that problem addressed. So thinking, yeah, great, nice bit of kit, but what about the other things that go with it? What are the health issues and well-being issues around issuing people with iPads? Because all I can see is kids putting iPads flat on the table and literally just leaning over them like that. And then you're going to find you've got a whole sort of swarm of kids suffering with neck and shoulder problems just simply by being hunched over.
I mean, actually, though, do you think half the problem is that especially when kids are younger, etc., they're more flexible, etc. Anyway, they tend to show signs less in terms of having any kind of physical issue, etc. So it's kind of, I almost believe that a lot of people out there think that we're just going to evolve into. No, in all seriousness, I honestly believe that a lot of people believe that we're going to kind of evolve into people that can stand using tech. And therefore, we don't need anything as an adjustment for it because, as time goes by, our necks will get stronger so that we can look down at devices because,
if you go to a networking group and you walk around the room and you look, you can see those people that spend too long on laptop computers because their necks are like that. And they're walking around, they're not on top of their shoulders anymore. There's one company, was it Fellows? One company did a model, a mannequin of a grotesque future.
Emma.
What we will look like in the future. It was deliberately over the top, but it was a great piece.
I think so. I mean, it certainly it got a lot of backlash from some people in the trade because it was maybe too over the top, but at the same time, it did stimulate conversation. People suddenly looked at it and went, really? Could that actually happen to me? Could I actually end up with a hunched neck? Well, yeah, people do actually. There are conditions. People do actually end up with hunched necks, great bulges on the back of their neck. People do actually end up with spine conditions, which means that they struggle to get out of bed every morning. And it can all happen by just sitting there and working with poor posture all day long. It's I think there's a massive educational piece there that needs to be had, and I think that the younger that we can start getting that opportunity with young people, the better. And especially as going forward, more and more jobs are going to be tech based. I mean, when I came out of school, tech based jobs were, few and far between. Really, we were all still on BBC computers. Remember them? Winchester hard drives,
BBC micros.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Kids would laugh at that today, wouldn't they? If they saw that. They go, what on earth? What are you putting in there? That's a floppy disk. What? So it's always surprised me that actually, even on cloud-based software these days, where you go to save something, still some of them have got at the top for the save icon is still a floppy disk. Which youngster knows that as a reference point, right? But why is that the icon for saving? I've only ever saved up in this cloud thing.
Yeah. Paul, what's the most, we sort of touched on it before about going out to see people. What's the most common issue that you see? What is it? What do you come across and you say, actually, out 7, it might be 5 or 6 or 7 out of 10 of my visits are to do with X, Y, and Z. What's the most common thing you come across?
It's usually set up and it's often armrests.
Okay.
Right.
Cheap chairs tend to have ridiculously large unadjustable armrests.
Right.
Or armrests that actually hold the whole chair together.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, people phone me up. They say, "Oh, I need a chair with a neck. I need a neck rest on my chair because my neck hurts." And you go and see them, the neck hurts because their arms are like that because their armrests are badly adjusted. So yeah, cheap armrests are a big problem. I think you'd be better off with no armrests. And I think armrests are important if they're done properly, but if they're not done properly, you're better off without them.
That's always been an interesting conversation for me because I always found that a lot of people will then go, "Oh, don't like armrests on a chair." Yeah. And the trouble with that, and you're then on the back foot right from the beginning because you're then trying to have the conversation. Well, it's not the armrests; it's the fact that those were bad armrests.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not in the right position. They're too wide apart, or they're too close to you, so that you're either like that or you're like that, abducting the arm away from the body. They're quite often too far forward, so you're like that and like that, and that's causing all of the problems. Put the armrest in the right position, it's fine. There you go. Arms for you chairs are arms for your chairs. Yeah, well, exactly that.
Arms for your chairs are chairs for your arms.
Oh, chairs for your arms. Right, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, it's that. I can imagine that is a conversation that's had so many times. But again, it comes back to that thing that you said right at the beginning, because suddenly you say, well, you need a pair of arms that actually does this, and people are like, how much are a pair of arms?
And that's the ultimate thing, like we've said. I mean, it goes through not just the chairs, but the other accessories and things that exist in our world is around adjustment, isn't it? And it sort of baffles me a little bit as to why a company would make a chair without adjustable armrests. Because unless it's that person who buys it who exactly fits that set adjustment or position that's in place, it's probably useless for 8 or 9 out of people out of 10. And I know, again, it goes back to that whole thing around cost. But why would people, and maybe, and again, it also goes back to education. Why would you purchase a product or something that has literally no adjustability? Because it has not, but your dimensions have not been fed into that factory when that chair's been made that's delivered to your house. So why are people producing these things, and why are people buying these things? It's a conversation we just keep going on about, and eventually it will get there. But it's just, for me, really, really frustrating that we're still having these conversations, and companies and people are investing in product that in reality is no good for them, and is going to create more problems than it's actually going to address.
Yeah, I'm talking a lot more about desks these days. I try to most of my social media, for as much as I do it, most of my social media output these days has been desks rather than chairs. Yeah, chairs have very limited adjustment. Most desks have absolutely none at all.
But even then, I can remember back in the day, I can remember going to see people and people saying, yeah, but look, a desk is just a desk, right? Because, and the comment, what a desk does is it stops the paper from hitting the floor. That's all that a desk does, right? Yeah. And I think that's the trouble. I think if people see it just from a purely functional level in terms of the work, they're not actually buying into what it does beyond that.
Yeah.
That can actually help with the health piece. So it's really, you've got to start by putting them into a position cerebrally about thinking about health and well-being first, as opposed to what we're buying here is something that is a functional piece of kit that's fits alongside I'm buying a computer because this person's got to use Word and Excel. I'm buying a desk because the computer needs to sit on something. I'm buying a chair because they need to sit down. That's the reason I'm buying this stuff. But that's not, so ultimately, surely the whole conversation has to come back to, why are you spending money on that talent? Yeah, as opposed to this is a job and I can get anybody in to do that job. Surely it's got to come down to, you have invested in this person because you believe this person is valuable to this company in terms of taking this company forward. And actually, it's important to look after that person now.
I think it's also interesting as well, if we sort of tie this back to what we've seen in the news, and certainly the last sort of 24, 48 hours around recession and things like that, you then suddenly start to get a concern that, are companies going to now not invest because money's going to be a little bit tighter? Do they see the investment in health and well-being as something that can be sort of cut? Or do they actually invest? But like we just said before, do they invest in the wrong type of products? So the whole thing around this talk of this sort of potentially 2-year recession, you then start thinking from our sphere, from our world, does it stop investment, or does it actually encourage investment in the wrong products that have got the right pound signs in front of them? So to me, that starts to ring a few more bells. That are we potentially going to get are people going to continue to suffer, or are we going to get a whole load of new problems when we come out the other side, because people have had to either work with nothing or work with the wrong thing?
The answer to that is, yeah, we probably will see some of that. I think it's important for people like Paul. I think it's really important to get the messaging across that ultimately the biggest cost to any business, and again, it's still going to be the biggest cost to any business in this kind of period as well, is if you keep your staff turnover keeps turning over all of the time. If you train somebody into a job, you lose them, you have to take someone else on, etc., or you just can't keep talent because they can go elsewhere, then that's where they're going to suffer. I think that my personal view is, I think a lot of the younger CEOs get it, and I'm, if I was out there today selling, I'd probably be focusing on younger companies, because I just think that they understand that health and well-being piece more. I think the old school are kind of, there was always talk bottom line. I think the younger generation understand that actually the thing that young talent want to buy into is balance in their life, and as part of that balance, they want to look after themselves. So it's when they're looking at a business that they want to go and work for, that ethos has to be there of, this company wants me to look after me as well. And if the company's singing from that hymn sheet, then that's an easier task in the first place, surely, because they're saying the right things. And normally, and the biggest difference I've seen in that as well, is that a lot of younger leaders, a lot of younger management are actually living that as well. So then it's not just lip service to it. They are actually spending the money and the time themselves to make sure that they are looking after themselves, and they are going to look after their workforce as well.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Paul?
Yeah, people consider it an expense, but it's not. It's an investment. It's an investment that lives. Whether you do get to keep that employee or not, it's an investment that will live well after that guy's gone and the next guy or girl is at that desk or chair, from my point of view. But yeah.
Where is the van going next, Paul?
Where's the van going next? We got a South Hams afternoon. We're going down to South Devon. Well, I can't give too much away because I might want to take a photo.
Yes.
It's got quite a long way to go this afternoon.
Well, we won't keep you too long, and we'll let you get going in a minute in your lovely van. So yeah, do think about that. do think about that idea of taking that photo, and you know, where people look out for that on social media. What social medias are you actually on, Paul? Just so we know, are you just LinkedIn, or you...
From the sort of point of view the people we're looking at here, probably LinkedIn mostly. I do put stuff on Facebook as well, and occasionally that will link with Instagram, because the two are just linked. But I have absolutely no idea how Instagram works. Sometimes I do something and it pops up there, and sometimes it says that photo wasn't the right size. Quite how Instagram can't work that out itself, I don't know, but apparently it can't. And I'm starting to move back towards Twitter a little bit as well, but that'll probably get shut down next week. I'm not going to put too much.
Oh, I shall have to find you on Twitter, definitely, because you know, before, as you say, before everything gets shut down, you know, or just changed in some shape or form, well, we all have to pay for it. You know, that seems to be the order of the day. But yeah, I mean, I think Instagram would work really well for you, actually.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I think so. If you get the grid right and all the, you know, the chairs and the pictures in the right place, I can see it working from a visual point of view.
Yeah, and certainly from the sort of like Paul's out and about with his van, I think that would be marvelous. So yeah, maybe we'll have a chat about that and see if we can, you know, boister you on Instagram, get you a few more followers there. That would be good. Paul, thanks for coming in, talking to us today.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
So if you're in the South Hams area, look out for the orange van. It will be around. If you see it.
Because as I get older, I'm finding those roads a little scarier. I'm still a reasonably confident driver, but we don't need to be passing each other at 70 miles an hour with 3 inches to spare each side.
No. It's because they're getting close, so they can see what the side of the van.
Is he wearing socks or not? That's what they're going to. Or is he wearing shoes? Sorry, that's what they're straining their eyes to see.
Well, yeah, and perhaps they want a chair. You know, you never know.
Oh, you know, there's enough loaded in the back of it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. What you want to do is strap one of those machines to the side of the van that, like, throws out, you know, literature. So
you get, okay. We're in Devon. I mean, there's plenty of muck spreaders around here. Perhaps I could just buy a second-hand one of those.
Second-hand muck spreader to distribute leaflets. What a great idea! Oh, can you imagine that coming down your lane? You know, Paul gets a telephone call from the local council. I think someone's been throwing your literature in all of the hedges around here.
I'll get out the town hall because of Backworld. Fits in the way.
Fantastic. If you are in the southwest, if you're in the sort of how sort of far do you go, Paul?
It depends what we're talking about. You know, if somebody says I want the cheapest possible chair you've got, then it's online. You can buy it and it will come to you. If somebody wants to really have a good look at a choice, and the right thing is more important than the cost, then certainly all of Devon, into Cornwall, Dorset, up Somerset. Yeah, no problem at all.
Stop me and buy one, says Andrew. Yeah, I think he might need a slightly bigger van for that.
He's gone back to biscuits.
Old biscuits, yeah. Dorset knobs. That's the one to sell from the back of the Backworld van, isn't it? Yeah. You know, keep it local. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye.
Oh, brilliant time.
Yeah, and on that note,
yeah. He didn't know where to look, did he, when I said that? Well, there we go.
We have overlooked, though, Graham, one really, really important piece of news this week.
Okay.
Bounties being removed from boxes of celebrations.
Really?
Have you heard this?
No.
So apparently they're trialing, I think it was in 40 Tesco stores.
Yeah.
The celebrations, and on the front it's got something like "does not include bounty" or something. Apparently it's the most disliked sweet in the celebration. So there's talk of the bounty being removed from the celebration. Not sure I'm totally happy with that. I like it.
That's not my least favourite within that box, I don't think. And I actually like coconut. Yeah. I have to say, though, I think where they've gone wrong with bounty over the years in those boxes, and if you've ever been to a service station that sell these, that's always my one of choice, is dark bounty is better than milk bounty.
which is the red. One's the red and one's the blue.
It's the red. It's the red one.
Right.
So the one in the box that you get normally is the blue Bounty. Yeah, but the dark, and I've always been a little bit upset that the dark Bounty one doesn't come in the, because the blue Bounty one, they started doing the triple bars.
Yeah.
Triple bars. Yeah, there you go. There we go. Oh, excellent news. I don't like Bounty.
Shame on you, Mr. Shepherd. Although I did hear, I did nip out earlier, and I had capital on. I had capital on earlier, and someone said they've missed the whole point here with bounties. It's more get rid of the eclair out of the heroes, because you go to put your hand in a box of chocolates and you come out with a toffee, and it's like, if you're going to remove something, that's the one that needs to go. The bounty is way down on the list.
Talking nonsense now. No, that's a completely different sort of chocolate. I mean, actually, one of the problems with all of these chocolates now is that every single box of chocolates has got something in it that you don't like. Right? Yeah. There's always something, isn't there? As you get towards the end, there's always something. Why don't they just take all of it? Why doesn't some of these manufacturers get together, right? And what I'd love to see one Christmas is someone produce collaboratively. It's going to be a bit more expensive, but
cross brand. Are you thinking cross brand here?
Cross brand all the favourites from all of the boxes. That's what I want.
We all go and vote online.
Yeah,
and the deal is the top 10 or top 6 or whatever. Like Mars and Nestle, Cadbury's. You get your heads together and you produce this ultimate selection of.
Yeah. In fact, it's going to be called the Ultimate Selection. Yeah. It's more expensive, obviously.
Copyright that.
Yeah. Copyright that. In fact, I might you could just do it, couldn't you? Yeah. You could literally just open boxes of things and just put them in together and then sell it as a thing. You say, look, this is guaranteed no leftovers. This one, we know this is all the favourite ones from all of the different.
Yeah,
that'd be brilliant. That's what we really want out there.
Sorry, just another chocolate story whilst it's fresh in my mind. So have you got a Sainsbury's near you?
Yes, indeed.
Have you got the section where you go and make your own boxes of Lindt chocolates?
At the Taunton one, the local one doesn't have that because there's not enough room to swing a cat, let alone put that display in. Yeah.
So I went to Sainsbury's last Sunday, and I was walking past that area, and a guy pushing a trolley sort of looks round, pushes the trolley down, and then discreetly passes one to his wife, sort of turns his back on the store and opens it and eats it and sticks the pack in his. And he's just like, really?
What?
Nick, I was just like, I so want to go and grass you up, but so he was just basically.
What do you say? I mean, who's going to do anything? That's the trouble, isn't it? You go to one of the cashiers at the front of the store, say someone on aisle 12's been nicking your balls.
Yeah. Now that was another story, Graham, altogether.
That's another story, isn't it? But that's disgusting, isn't it?
Mm.
Do you know what though? That's the. Was he at least being a little bit surreptitious about it, and or is it? Yeah.
There was an attempt to sort of looking everywhere as if. And just
no, do you know what it is? That looking everywhere, looking
camera,
up, right? Looking to see if there's a security camera up above. Right? Is there CCTV looking at me? Because if there is, I may not do this. No, there isn't. Okay, I'm going to get away with it.
Yeah.
Whoever you were, if you're listening, probably not. But whoever you were, that is disgusting.
Shame on you.
Do you realise that by doing that, you put the cost up of Lindt balls all the time for everybody else? It just harms everybody else's enjoyment. Yeah. I know. I have seen that. I think it's quite a cool idea actually. Make up your own little.
I was going to say the cool idea was making your own, not nicking them. We're not condoning people going and just helping themselves, are we?
But I've seen that before. I actually in another supermarket I walked around the corner to the liquor aisle, to the alcohol aisle one time, and there literally was a bloke. There was only me and one other bloke in that aisle, He was stood at the end, and he literally had a long coat on, and he literally opened his coat like that and went. He had a big pocket inside, and he just, a couple of bottles of whiskey, closed it up again. He didn't get away with that though, because I then sort of backtracked on myself and went round to security on the thing. I said, "There's a guy with a very long coat, and you might want to stop him on the way out of the store." And he did get stopped. But I mean, honestly, he was like, he wasn't even, he didn't even care. He didn't even care. He was just going for it. Yeah.
Now, Andrew Shepherd has just commented, and if you put this about there's plenty of sort of content for your next survey. I think you've got to get that one in next week. Bounties or this ultimate selection box. You've got to have that next week, Graham, somewhere.
But the problem with it is, I'm going to say, it's a great idea, but the only problem with it is LinkedIn surveys are limited to 4 options. I'm going to write it down.
We're going to have a little think about that one.
Because I have to think about the mechanics of it on Bounty. I mean, maybe I should just do a very simple one to begin with, which is, do people think that Bounty should be removed from celebrations, isn't it? Yeah. And then say, if not Bounty, what would you replace it with from any of the other boxes?
Yes.
There we go. That might come out tomorrow morning. Being a Saturday, that's kind of a Saturday one.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the week I'm incredibly sensible, and it's all to do with business. So,
really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think so. Maybe. Well, yeah. What have I covered this week? I've covered Twitter verification marks. I've done a little bit on I'm a Celebrity. You see, as I told you, it's all about business.
Yeah. Yeah. You might want to backtrack on that one, Graham.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you for Paul coming on today, our special guest all the way from Exeter. If you see him out and about, don't
ask him for a biscuit. There's none in the van.
Don't ask him for a biscuit. Don't look too closely at his van, because it makes him nervous. If you drive too closely to him and at speed as well. So really be careful there. But seriously, if you do see him, honk twice, right? Or in fact, actually, you could do that whole if you're really good at that. You might get arrested.
Might be worth it though.
But if it's down in the southwest, there's probably no one about, so it's probably okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, do say hi to Paul if you see him out and about in his van, and hopefully we will help him get his little Paul's out and about. Maybe actually we could feature Paul's out and about in his van somewhere on the WOW page at some point. That would be good. That would be great. We could do a little competition there. Next week we will be back. Another guest next week. We won't tell you who it is at the moment. It'll be a surprise for you all. But we're back every week with a guest to do with ergonomics. So do stay tuned. Make sure that you subscribe to us, please, on the various channels, especially on Spotify. We love it when we get those Spotify figures up. Do listen back to one of these during the week. That would be great. There's loads of back material to listen to. And check out wowergonomics.com for more of the same. Until next week, this has been Wow Ergonomics with me, Graham Cofe, and Stephen Howe. Until next week, stay safe out there, and remember, don't hunch all day. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.